Desmond Abernathy was no stranger to the peculiar. His days were filled with voices from spirits and the scent of dried herbs from his apothecary shelves. But even he found Everspring Manor to be extraordinary. The house, a Victorian beauty with ivy-clad walls and stained glass windows, stood at the heart of a 111 acre estate. Its wood groaned in greeting, and its chandeliers swayed with unseen breaths. Everspring was alive, not with the tortured souls Desmond often encountered, but with a consciousness that mirrored his own. The house seemed to absorb Desmond's kindness, curiosity, and even his mood swings. It kept itself immaculate, dusting cobwebs from rafters and repairing cracks in the walls as if preempting Desmond's thoughts. The kitchen always smelled faintly of lavender and cinnamon, a scent Desmond loved, though he had never burned such candles there. His home office, nestled behind a hidden door in the library, was where he consulted visitors seeking refuge from curses, hauntings, and entities that lurked in the dark. Desmond's clairvoyant abilities allowed him to see spirits, but it was his knowledge of cryptids and the supernatural that made him truly indispensable. Some days he would reach for a tincture of rosemary and sage, on others, a vision would guide him to the correct spell inscribed in one of his ancient tomes. Behind Everspring Manor lay the Enchanted Garden, a sprawling sanctuary where mundane and mystical flourished side by side. Paths of smooth river stones wound through beds of foxglove, lavender, and nightshade. Roses that glimmered faintly with enchantment climbed trellises of iron and oak, their petals soft as silk and infused with protective magic. In the center of the garden stood an old glass greenhouse, its panes streaked with moss and light filtering through in emerald and gold hues. Inside, the air was warm and fragrant with the scents of basil, mandrake, and a host of exotic plants whose names few could pronounce. Some, like the silver-veined nightbloom, only opened under moonlight, while others, like the embervine, whose leaves flickered with a faint, fiery glow, were kept in iron pots for safety. Desmond's apothecary shelves were often stocked from the greenhouse's bounty. Fireberries, which could mend fevers, and frostleaf, a pale herb used to calm restless spirits, were harvested with care. Thick vines of dreamshade draped from the rafters, their purple blossoms used in potions to ward off nightmares. The greenhouse, like the house, seemed to understand Desmond's needs, encouraging the growth of whatever plant was most useful at the time. The garden was not just home to plants. Small cryptid creatures roamed freely, foxes with eyes like amber lanterns and feathers sprouting from their tails, rabbits with silver fur and antlers that glinted in the light. A flock of voice birds, tiny creatures with translucent wings and a tendency to echo nearby conversations, nested in a willow by the pond. Everspring's estate was also home to larger creatures, each more curious than the last. Bram, the reformed Wendigo, often patrolled the northern woods with a pair of shadowhounds, sleek, obsidian-coated beasts with eyes that glowed softly in the dark. In the meadow to the east, a herd of sylphic deer grazed, their coats shimmering faintly with each step. Near the barn, Desmond kept more traditional livestock, goats, chickens, and a piebald horse named Morrigan whose eyes glinted with more intelligence than any ordinary mare. Even they were touched by the magic of Everspring, living twice as long and rarely falling ill. The most peculiar resident was an owlbear cub, rescued as an egg from a hunter's trap. Named Ollie, the cub had feathers soft as down and eyes round and amber. Despite his size and fearsome appearance, Ollie was gentle, often curling around Desmond's feet in the evenings as he worked. One autumn morning, Desmond awoke to find his apothecary shelves rearranged, ingredients for a protection spell laid out with precision. The house was worried, he realized, a cold draft weaving through the hallways despite the fireplace's roaring. The reason revealed itself soon after. A young woman named Elara arrived, eyes hollow and wrists wrapped in charms that had long since lost their power. Shadows clung to her like second skin, and her voice trembled with each word. She spoke of a specter that haunted her dreams and an artifact that pulsed with dark magic. Desmond glanced at the shelves, then at the house-shivering curtains. "I see," he murmured. "You've already made up your mind, haven't you?" The house creaked in agreement. With Bram patrolling the grounds, Celine's voice weaving protective charms, and the greenhouse ember vines offering their flames for banishment spells, Desmond set to work. The dark spirit was vanquished, and Everspring's walls glimmered faintly, absorbing and amplifying the magic. Not all mysteries were dark. While tending to the night bloom, Desmond noticed a vine coiled around a cracked pane of the greenhouse, tiny flowers glowing softly. It wasn't one he recognized, its petals shifting colors in the light. As he reached out, it pulsed warmly, a vision unfurling, an underground chamber beneath the estate, filled with ancient relics and shimmering roots. Guided by the house's soft nudges, doorways opening without a sound, paths clearing through the underbrush, Desmond discovered a hidden cellar beneath the greenhouse. The walls were carved with runes and vines that moved as if alive, guarding a well of crystalline water that thrummed with magic. Everspring, it seemed, had secrets even Desmond hadn't unraveled yet. Epilogue. The house remembers. Long after Alara departed, her grateful words lingering, Desmond stood by the window, gazing at the vast estate. Everspring hummed with contentment, its walls warm and welcoming. The house had become more than just wood and stone. It was a guardian, an ally, a reflection of Desmond's own heart. And in the shadow of the woods, eyes gleamed, some familiar, others unknown, waiting and watching. For as long as Desmond called Everspring home, its halls would never be empty.